Hi everyone, it's lockheartQT here today, and recently I beat Modern Warfare 3's campaign, and after finishing it I knew I had to make this video reviewing the campaign, showing you the good, the bad and the ugly. Today will be my honest opinions on the Modern Warfare 3 campaign, and in this video it will contain spoilers, like we're talking end credits scene, we're talking the ending, we're talking major deaths. So if you don't want to be spoiled, here's your chance to click away now. With all that said and being done, let's begin. This review will be separated into the good, the bad and the ugly, so let's start off with the good. Starting off with the opening mission called Operation 627, where you break into the Gulag from the original Verdansk from Warzone to break Makarov out of prison. Overall, I thought this was a great mission with really good pacing, graphics, dialogue, story and gameplay elements, and it sort of harkened back to classic Call of Duties, and I actually really liked this mission. Next up we have the mission called Frozen Tundra, where we play as Task Force 141, the main squad, helping to rescue Shepard from imprisonment and to exfil safely and basically get him out of there. Again, I thought this mission had really great dialogue, banter between characters like Gaz Soap with Shepard and Ghost and Price with Shepard as well.
Could be more ahead.
Can you still shoot, General? There's a polar bear shit in the snow. Make sure you aim straight. I got this.
And great sniping with thermal scopes in the weather elements with the blizzard and the ice and the different things, like you're popping in and out of trees, sniping. I thought this mission was great. Next up is the Gora Dam mission. Now this campaign introduces brand new open zone mission types, which are essentially open world campaign missions that use mechanics similar to Warzone and Spec Ops and take place in massive open environments. This mission again had us returning to Gora Dam from Verdansk, which is one of the most iconic locations from the original Verdansk, and I enjoyed the stealth here, returning to a fan favourite location. I actually really liked this mission compared to the others. Next up we have the very last mission, being titled Countdown. This mission has Task Force 141 racing against the clock in London to stop Makarov. It reuses some of the features such as blending in to essentially trailing someone. It's a escort mission, you're sort of you're trailing somebody and you're having to blend in, as well as the camera puzzles from MW3 2022's campaign, which I quite liked actually. It breaks up the campaign and it gives us something different. This mission had environmental hazards such as avoiding trains and other things, and also had us fighting regular enemies, different enemy types, as well as juggernaut suits. And the ending of the mission, which I'll cover in unfortunately the bad and the ugly section as well. Overall, the graphics and performance on PS5 were really good in my opinion, especially running at 4K 60. Weather effects looked stunning, water, lighting and character models looked brilliant, so no complaints on that front. It's not as great in this video because obviously YouTube is going to compress the hell out of it, but if you're playing on PC on Ultra or Series X or PS5, the game looks brilliant, especially the opening mission where you come out of the water and sort of climb up the Gulag. I thought that looked brilliant. And again, massive spoilers here, so I won't say what they're doing yet, but the actual ending with 3 characters on the cliff was really impactful and a good overall ending, which showed the bond between the 141 characters, which I'll cover in a bit, which isn't shown as much here as it was in MW 2019 as well as MW2, the rebooted version. I feel like they actually showed sort of emotion for these characters really well. Now for the bad. In the first mission we get a dialogue choice. Basically you get to choose between 3 choices where Makarov asks you a question. And here I thought, oh great, this campaign's going to have different alternating choices that either impact the missions themselves or just the dialogue. Nope. Not only does your choice here not matter, because no matter which one you select it's okay, but also this doesn't show up for the entire campaign ever again. This only happens once here, which feels like a massive missed opportunity. They could have had alternate choices, alternate paths, and characters their situation being impacted on your choices, and it just felt like a massive missed opportunity. Next up, we've got characters such as Alejandro. They don't even appear at all. I actually really liked Alejandro from MW2's campaign. I thought he was a really well written character, and for some reason he just doesn't show up here at all. As well as Alex. Alex does show up in the campaign. He shows up in like a few cutscenes, but he doesn't get much screen time at all compared to others like Farah and obviously 141. I would have really liked some more of Alex here, and I don't know why he got snubbed. In this game, the 141 squad doesn't feel as personal as they did in 2019 as well as MW2. In those games, we saw bonding moments that showed us that these men are more of a family rather than a regular generic military squad. And in MW3, we don't really see much of these character dynamics nearly enough, only with certain moments like their banter with Graves, as well as their banter with Shepard, and like I said earlier, the actual ending scene.
Fucking believable. So, you missed me? Well, technically, you did, didn't you?
Laswell, if you're tracking this, let's call an airstrike.
Ghost, that is not nice.
What are you up to?
I'm up to doing my fucking job, kid. You should try it sometime.
My fucking job is to kill the enemy. Guess what you are?
Let's keep...
Every other moment kind of feels weird. Like, for example, Ghost doesn't get as much screen time in this game, which, okay, fair enough, he had loads of screen time in MW2, and it just feels a bit weird. Now, this next bit I was debating putting in the ugly section, but this point I'd sort of wanted to, I didn't think, now that I've seen it again and again a few times, replayed it and looked at the cutscene again, I really wanted to put it in bad instead of ugly, because I didn't think it was terrible, but I didn't think it was good, and I'll explain why now. By the way, massive spoilers here, because I will be talking about a major character death. Okay? 3, 2, 1. Soap's death in the mission countdown. Price and Soap try to defuse a bomb in the mission countdown, but Makarov comes in and essentially kills Soap, shoots him in the head, clean death, he's dead. This scene is nowhere near as impactful as the original Modern Warfare 3 Soap's death.
Makarov knows. Yuri.
Oh no! Soap! No! Soap! You have to go now! Get off me!
The OG MW3 had you feeling angry, sad and heartbroken with Soap's death, whereas this scene felt quicker and less impactful. Now, don't worry, I do get this to some extent. This scene was meant to be more realistic because, in my opinion, MW2 and MW3 sort of feel more like more action movies rather than a realistic depiction, whereas the reboot is more a realistic depiction, which is fine, okay, I completely get that. Most soldiers and operatives die very quickly, their deaths aren't dragged out, but at the end of the day, this is writing, this is fiction. In my opinion, which, by the way, I have seen this point echoed online, I don't think Soap should have died here. I think Gaz should have been the one to die here instead. We only properly meet Soap in MW2's campaign, so we only get one game with Soap and then obviously bits and pieces in Modern Warfare 3's campaign, whereas Gaz has pretty much been by Price's side since Modern Warfare 2019's campaign. So it would have been more impactful here if Gaz had died instead, because Soap's death, although, you know, I felt a bit like, oh no, I can't believe that happened, it wasn't anywhere near the original Modern Warfare 3, which unfortunately I do have to compare it because it's mimicking that game. They're titled exactly the same, for God's sake. Now we're on to the ugly section. These are the things that really rubbed me the wrong way, and some of these things made me quite angry and I think are terrible. Next up we have the infamous No Russian scene. This mission from the original Modern Warfare 2 is one of the most iconic missions in video game history. So much so that it actually almost caused political issues with Russia and the US, and also made the national news because of how shocking and iconic it was.
Remember, no Russian.
So we knew that this game, this rebooted Modern Warfare 3, was going to have a no Russian mission somewhere in it, as it was the end credits scene in MW2. But this new mission, titled The Passenger, was underwhelming, pathetic, and in my opinion, played it far too safe. Call of Duty has been known to show us realistic depictions of war, even going back to the original COD 4, the original MW2, Treyarch's games with World at War and the Black Ops series, and even in modern day with games like Modern Warfare 2019. But in the passenger mission, it feels like here they've just played it too safe. You can't shoot civilians. If you do shoot civilians, you get penalised. And in the last section, you don't even have any ammo, so you can't. And although this is a realistic thing that could happen, this mission, in my opinion, isn't shocking, isn't surprising, isn't impactful in any way, and is written awfully. In No Russian, the original Modern Warfare 2, it was a really ahead of its time mission, because you are essentially playing as a terrorist, the main villain of the game, running into an airport and just gunning down completely, and you aren't really penalised, because usually in Call of Duty you're penalised for shooting civilians, whereas this mission, that was completely turned off, so it almost turns the game on its head, and it was just such an iconic mission. And in my opinion, this new take on it almost spits in the face of the original's mission it's trying to mimic. Next up, we're talking about Countdown again. Although I enjoyed this mission overall, though, I really need to talk about this. So again, we're comparing Modern Warfare 3 2023 to the original Modern Warfare 3. In the mission Countdown, again, it mimics the original plan that Makarov had in the original Modern Warfare 3 with detonating chemical gas into London, essentially killing the entire city. The main difference here being Task Force 141 actually stop this mission, whereas in the sort of original Modern Warfare 3 we got a chilling shot of a family visiting London and then choking to death. This was obviously it's nowhere near as good, but it's on par with No Russian because it's shocking and impactful. Again, another aspect of the game where in my opinion it would have been far more impactful if the game actually ended with 141 failing to stop the chemical gas, escaping, and then the game ending with London covered in gas. I feel like the game did a sort of decent job earlier on, where you actually have a mission where you get to see people dying from chemical weapons in a Russian base. So why show that and show the impact of it if you're then not going to use it really again? It feels really weird and it's just poor writing. Next up is the open missions. As I mentioned earlier, the open world missions, the open combat area missions, are new to the Call of Duty series in terms of a main campaign. They haven't really been done before. But in my opinion, these open world missions, which by the way take up half of the missions of the campaign, feel rushed, unfinished, shoehorned in at the last minute, and cobbled together. Again, these feel like they would have been Spec Ops DLC missions rather than a full campaign. These open world missions provide freedom in terms of choice of where you go and what you do in what order, which is fine, and includes things from war zones such as armour, supply drops, things like that. You essentially, however, in these missions go from point A to point B, defusing or destroying something, and you pretty much follow this formula in every single mission, or you're picking up something essentially rather than destroying it, without any deviation, and after a while it just gets really boring. As I said earlier, I did like the stealth in the Gorodam mission, but for the rest of the campaign open missions, they felt underbaked, boring, and they just felt sort of like a stark contrast compared to the well-polished missions of the past, like the full missions with the music, the good level design, the good story, the good writing, character moments and gunplay, whereas these just sort of felt shoehorned in. You can, if you wanted to, you can complete these missions really quickly in a few minutes, because you can effectively rush them, going from point A to point B to point C, finish the mission. Where I didn't realise this until sort of later into the campaign that you could do that. Next up, by the way, massive spoilers here, like Soap's death, we're going to be talking about the end credits scene. This is obviously the scene that plays after the main credits and after the main story. This scene felt weird to me, and I've put it in the ugly section because, whereas I actually enjoyed the previous end credits scene of Modern Warfare 2019 and MW3, this one for me was quite bad, and it just felt out of place. I don't know. In this scene, Price sneaks into Shepard's office and kills him after talking to him. Essentially, Shepard comes back to his office, Price is in there, they talk for a bit, Price shoots him in the head. This, for me, feels really out of character for both Shepard and Price. Shepard, in general, in this rebooted series, is nowhere near the level he previously was in the classic MW2. Remember how badass Shepard was in the classic games when he killed Roach and Ghost? Again, another super iconic moment, and then almost killed Price and Soap. And remember how good that felt to kill him in that mission, just because he was sort of the secondary villain in that game, and the fact that he kills two major characters made you think, no, right, we got to get this dude, we got to get this guy, you're done, mate. And whereas here in MW3 2023, it just felt anticlimactic and out of place. This doesn't even happen in game, it happens in a sort of CGI cutscene, which, again, I wouldn't have minded if it had happened in MW2, whereas, like, you know, he betrays us and then we go after him. But because in this game, it feels like Task Force 1 are very, they're played too safely, whereas in the original, Task Force 141 are considered to be the enemy. After MW2 and they're betrayed by Shepard, they are all wanted men and essentially are on the run. Whereas in MW3, they just go back to being honoured soldiers, which is obviously what they should be, but it's hard to explain, but I just feel like they've been done dirty here, like all the characters in general, and it's just weird, especially this end credit scene. And lastly, the Modern Warfare 3 campaign overall just feels unfinished, as it only took me, really funny by the way, 4 hours and 20 minutes. Do what you want with that number. But this is the shortest COD campaign I think we've ever had. This really tells me that MW3 was 100% meant to be a DLC for Modern Warfare 2 rather than a full campaign release. I reckon speedrunners are going to have an absolute blast with this game because they should be able to beat it within an hour, which is really shocking. Definitely, in my opinion, isn't worth your money for the campaign alone. Again, we're going to have to wait and see for multiplayer and zombies, which I'm now fearing may follow a similar fate with being sort of rushed and underbaked. And it's not looking good for Sledgehammer because they've already had another release which came out unfinished and underbaked. So we're going to have to wait and see for the other two modes. So in conclusion, overall, the Modern Warfare 3 campaign really feels like it was intended to be a DLC rather than a full game release. I mean, the game on PlayStation at least isn't even treated as a full release, but instead is classed as a DLC in the trophy list, meaning that there's no Platinum trophy. The game has really good moments in my opinion, such as the first mission and the Snowy Tundra mission, but the open world, the open combat missions feel shoehorned in and just basically put in for filler and unfinished. And with major characters getting snubbed such as Alejandro and Alex, as well as certain moments trying to mimic the original Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3, which the new missions failed on all fronts, trying to sort of mimic those same feelings and moments, from Soap's death to Shepard's death and to the No Russian copy mission, the spiritual successor so to speak, just essentially not being good enough. Personally, I cannot recommend this game for the campaign alone. If you are one of those people that just plays the COD campaigns, it's probably the worst Call of Duty campaign I've ever played, which I'm shocked to say that, really. I've got to be honest, I enjoyed Modern Warfare 2019's campaign. I actually thought it was quite good. It's not one of the best, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was quite good. Then with Modern Warfare 2, I thought, again, it was okay. It had some good moments, it had some bad moments. I thought it was okay. Whereas this, I've got to be honest, is the worst Call of Duty campaign I've ever played. I don't think I've played a worse one. I genuinely had to sit there today and think of a worse campaign. Okay, you've got the original 3 Call of Duty, Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3. I have not played those for a very long time, so I can't really judge and comment on them too much. But I have to say, this is genuinely the worst campaign. Anyway guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. Give yourself a pat on the back because this has been a bit of a long one. Thank you so much for watching the video today, and for more Call of Duty content as well as Call of Duty Zombies and gaming content in general, don't forget to like, share and subscribe with your fellow fans, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.